What is going on, everybody? My name is Justin Fensterman, and he is James Grande, and it's time to talk some DFS MLB on the Better Baseball MLB DFS Playbook Show. What's going on, Mr. Grande? How's everything?
Nothing much. Another interesting Monday slate. I like these Monday slates because it's always like somewhere between 6 to 9 games. Nice, and that's always my favorite. It's always my favorite number. In and outside of baseball. So, what?
Nothing. Nothing.
Okay. I thought there was something there. But yeah, I like this. I like this slate. Some interesting things going on that we're still not sure about. We're still not sure what the Dodgers are officially going to do on the mound. Jaime Barria pitching on 4 days rest. There's a couple spots of weather. There's a lot of just kind of interesting things going down on a smaller-ish slate today, Fensty.
So it's not locked in that Grove's going to pitch at this point.
It seems like he's going to. All indication is that. So, like, the initial report yesterday was that he was going to start, but they still were determining what they were going to do with Clayton Kershaw, and that still hasn't happened. They still haven't placed him on the IL. They still haven't made any official announcement on placing him on the IL. So, all indication is Michael Grove's pitching. That still remains to be seen as of right now, because again, there is nothing actually official. Last time we saw Clayton Kershaw, they spoke to him and he said he expected to make his next start. So I guess there's probably some dialogue going on. How you feel, Clayton? Do you feel good? Whatever. But there was other reports coming out that Michael Grove, if he didn't start, would be just taxi squatted and he would probably follow Kershaw, but we'll see. All indications point to Grove. Hitting Kershaw is a gamer. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll find out live here. We do find out a lot of the late night games here during the show. So if anything breaks, me and you will have it live for the people here on the Better Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm.
The Orioles taking on the Yankees at 8.5 total. There's some weather issues going on in the New York area, though. From the radar that I last checked, though, if it's going to impact part of the game, it'll be the second half of the game. That's when the humidity really starts to rise around that 9:30 p.m. Eastern area. So on the other side, though, with other action, you've got with, of course, the Braves and the Guardians at 8.5 total there. Royals and the Twins is at 9, but there are weather issues there as well. So we're going to have to see what happens in Minnesota, because unlike the Yankees-Orioles game where the weather's supposed to impact late in the game, this one's the opposite, where we could get some early weather impact. So it wouldn't be surprising at this point to see a delay. Angels-Padres, Mariners-Giants, Angels-Padres at a total of 8.5, Mariners-Giants at 7. And then we've got that Pirates-Dodgers game where we're still trying to figure things out from the LA side like we've been talking about. On the pitching front, as of right now, only two lefties on the hill for the 6-gamer, and that is Alex Cox for the Royals and then Blake Snell for the Padres. And by the way, you can always hit us up in the comments section as well. Let us know what you're feeling for tonight's MLB. If you have any questions, we will answer them. Better Boss, what's going on, man? It's good to see you. James, let's start, though, with some pitching, though. From what we know right now, some top price options. We got Justin Vreeland, by the way. He's on the Fantasy Alarm DFS MLB playbook, fantasyalarm.com. Go check it out. It'll be updated as things happen. So looking at some of the top price starting pitchers here, you've got Joe Ryan here against the Royals. Should be a bounce back spot for him tonight. Logan Webb at 9,200, Ryan at 10K. And then you've got Mitch Keller at 8,800. And then Mr. Snell, who's been striking out a lot of batters lately at 8,600. But then he's going up against a very, very difficult lineup tonight. So I got to ask you, James, where are we looking tonight when it comes to these pitchers?
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting slate at pitcher. I love Joe Ryan tonight, and I'm not really worried about his last start. He ran into the Atlanta Braves, right? They're a buzzsaw. We all know it. They homer against everybody. Start prior against a really good offense. We saw a complete game shutout from Joe Ryan. So I think so. We get somewhere in the middle between Kansas City. They're a bottom 10 offense against right-handed pitching in pretty much every category. And by bottom 10, they're right near the ranks near the bottom, 28th in OPS, 28th or 29th in WOBA. So, really bad offense. They strike out over 24% of the time against righties. So love Joe Ryan in any and all format. And the field's getting there as well. He's the ownership not going to surprise anybody. He's going to be popular. Logan Webb is interesting because he hasn't necessarily pitched all too well lately. Now, he hasn't pitched bad, and he gets deep into games outside of the Toronto start, and that's great. But the strikeouts have kind of been down. More on that in a little bit, Fensty. But Seattle is a team that has not hit right-handed pitching well at all this year, and they're 21st in OPS. They are the same in WOBA. And they have a 25.6% strikeout rate against righties. And more on that again, Fensty, in a little bit. And Logan Webb, another guy who's going to be pretty popular. The contrarian play of this tier is definitely going to be Mitch Keller because attacking the Dodgers offense is obviously scary, a very scary proposition. Ranks amongst the top pretty much in every offensive category against both hands now. Mitch Keller has been awesome all year. If you want to be contrarian going to Mitch Keller, by all means, set it and don't look until the end of the night to see what happens, because it could be a very bad idea. And then Blake Snell, like you mentioned, Fensty, strikeouts rule on DraftKings, right? They do. If you strike people out on DraftKings, that's who you play. And Blake Snell gave up a 2-run home run in that Pittsburgh start in the first inning, and then just mowed Pittsburgh down for the rest of the game. And although his team let him down and he lost, I will gladly take 6 innings, 210 strikeouts at 8,600 every single slate. Fensty, he's gone for 26 or more fantasy points in 5 straight starts. And at the start of this, he was $9,700. He is $8,600, and he is matched up against Tampa in Coors during this stretch, and it doesn't matter because he's mowing everyone down. Yes, I agree the Angels' offense is potent. What's gonna give? Because Snell has arguably been more potent on the mound. So as much as I agree that the Angels are scary because Ohtani hits lefties and he hits righties, and Trout is Mike Trout, and that's just what comes with pitching against the Angels. Oh, well, Trout and Ohtani are there. Well, yeah, but if you're pitching this well, there is upside. Now, he's projected to be the most popular pitcher of the slate. So I can see merit to fading him and playing some Angels on the other side because he's going to be so popular. And naturally, you stack against a guy who's popular and they go off, you gain massive leverage on the field. So I like all 4 guys. I think Keller is my least favorite of the bunch. I understand there's some appeal to getting to him because he's the lowest owned. But if I was ranking Fensty, it would probably be Ryan, Snell, Webb, Keller for me if I was ranking.
That's almost in the order of price point on DraftKings. You swap second and third, essentially the second
and fourth.
So it's that's where we're ranking them right now. You could only go so many directions with a 6-game slate. What do you think about Domingo Germán? Not from our standpoint tonight, because I just recency bias with this guy. Just threw a perfect game. Granted, it was against the A's. Now facing the Orioles, though, much more threatening lineup. Do you think people are going to try to take the bait on that, or they know better than to look at the matchup that Domingo Germán was just perfect in?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both. Recency bias is just natural. That's just a natural thing that people have in their mind. Oh, he was pitching poorly, and then he pitched a perfect game, so that's going to be the jump start to the rest of his season, right? That could be someone's thought, or it could be well, he just ran into maybe the worst team in the history of baseball. I more so think it's the latter. I don't think Domingo Germán's a very good pitcher. I've said that ad nauseum all year. I don't know if he's a worse pitcher or person. Honestly, it's really close. It's really close. I think he's a worse person, truthfully, but he gives up a lot of power to righties. He gives up a lot of power to lefties. And the Orioles have a really good lineup tonight, lefty centric. The first 6 guys he's going to face are lefty. He's allowed a 185 ISO to lefties. I have no interest getting to Domingo Germán. I have a lot more interest getting to Baltimore, truthfully. I mean, look at the 2 starts prior. We're talking about he allowed 8 earned against Seattle, who hasn't been a good offense the entire year, and he allowed 7 earned against Boston, 15 earned in back-to-back starts going into the Oakland start. I remember I think it was me and Colby sitting up here like being like, yeah, I'd even play guys on Oakland. And then obviously, that obviously didn't work. But yeah, I have little to no interest playing Herman because I mean the numbers outside of a perfect game and a couple starts where he was using sticky stuff and like they let him pitch. Like it's all been weird for Domingo Germán this year. So I am personally fading, and I'd rather play the guy on the other side of this game, truthfully.
Mr. Wells, by the way, no Westbrook, no Hayes for the Orioles in their lineup tonight.
Stinks.
So a couple of injuries there. You mentioned Wells, and we go down to the value tier quickly. What about Brian Wu going up against the Giants tonight, where the Giants are another team. They're pretty hampered when it comes to hitting injuries.
Very much so. You nailed it. And they are missing a lot of their left-handed bats specifically, and that plays into Wu's hand. They also are a team that strikes out a lot, despite being pretty good against right-handed pitching. 24.6% strikeout rate this year against righties. And since Wu has gotten called up, he has missed a lot of bats. I mean, he had 4 strikeouts in the game he got smacked in his debut. Again, Texas, tough offense to make your debut against. But 7, 9, 5, and 7 strikeouts in his last 4 starts. And honestly, Washington, a team that doesn't strike out, he strikes out 7. New York strikes out against lefties at a lot higher clip, not so much against righties. 5 strikeouts there, very solid. 7 strikeouts against the Angels. We just talked about how good an offense they are. So he is going to be a very popular SP2 if people are spending down today to get fit offenses like the Braves or the Padres. He's probably my favorite SP Wu option of the slate, Fancy.
There you go, right there. By the way, comments in the comments section reacting to the slugfest that just ended between the Astros and the Rangers, where we have 23 combined runs. Ryan, not so happy regarding Christian Javier. Matt Deutsch saying that Jose Abreu heating up. And then, of course, Beezy comes in, MLB DFS. So fickle. Well, welcome to our world. We're all in it together. That's why we do these streams and hash it out at this point. Mr. Grande, before we go to the hitting side, any other pitchers that you want to spotlight? Because we just hit about 5 of them here.
No.
Okay.
Like Bryce Elder, Howard Bender liked him on the fantasy on the morning show. He's fine for cash games. He just doesn't have a lot of strikeout appeal against an offense that doesn't strike out a lot. So, if you want safety, Bryce Elder 8100 fits the bill.
Before we move on to catcher, want to let you guys know about an opportunity for RT Sports, because you can play the real-time sports daily pick'em contest. You set a lineup of player props, hit them all, and win. Baseball, golf, and more. First-time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200 with deposit code ALARM23, ALARM, number 23. Go to rtsports.com/alarm. And hey, got to please play responsibly. Don't play beyond your means. For any help with that, call 1-800-GAMBLER for any further assistance there. So RT Sports giving a little pick'em game, which is awesome, Mr. Grande. We were talking about it before here. You and I are going to try to team up, come up with a couple of props from RT Sports that we like tonight. You've got pitcher prop that you've been teasing. I've got one from the hitting side. Why don't you start?
Yeah, Logan Webb strikeouts. I'm going over 5.5. It's been a fruitful approach against the Mariners. I mentioned the 25+% strikeout rate, and Logan Webb has been a 24% strikeout guy this year. He's run into a bunch of offenses lately that don't strike out. The Blue Jays don't strike out. Arizona doesn't strike out. The Dodgers, the Cardinals, none of those teams strike out. And Logan Webb had 5 or 6 in all 4. But again, 106 strikeouts in 110 innings. I really like Logan Webb to hit the over here. So I'm going over 5.5 strikeouts.
There we go. And I will add in to that Fernando Tatis Jr. over 1.5 total bases. couple of multi-hit games he's coming off of here. And with Barry on the hill, I'm not really threatened by him at all. He's been heating up, that's for darn sure. RBIs is also for what it's worth here as we're talking DFS in each of his last 3 games. So I'm taking Tatis to go over 1.5 total bases. Grande, let's win some money tonight.
Yeah, I love that. And 6.5 fantasy points doesn't look too bad either. Like you could probably just go either or are like such a money approach for Tatis. And let's throw a little let's enter them in that one, Fancy. So we're locked in. Logan Webb more than 5.5 strikeouts, and Fernando Tatis over 1.5 total bases.
Again, the real-time sports daily pick'em contest, rtsports.com/alarm. And first-time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200 with deposit code ALARM23. Get in to win. Let's move on to catcher and talk about where we're thinking tonight. Again, not too many options to choose from, but you look at the top price options. It is Will Smith at $5,500, Sean Murphy, $5,400, and even Adley Rutschman also above $5K at $5,100 before we start going down to a little bit more value.
Yeah, I think of the spend ups, I'm getting to Adley Rutschman here. And I mentioned the Domingo Germán struggles against lefty power. 185 ISO, 36% fly ball is not good, especially when you're factoring in the short porch and right field at Yankee Stadium. Rutschman 337 WOBA, 153 ISO against righties. He has a big time walk rate. He leads the team in fantasy points per game against right-handed pitching. So hitting second tonight, I really like Adley Rutschman. He would be the spend up for me. Sean Murphy a close second at this position.
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm thinking Murphy, my number 1 seed. Rutschman probably number 2 if I could save a little bit there. Although it's really not much, $400 between Will Smith and Rutschman, but still gonna go. I don't want to mess with Mr. Keller too much, so gonna essentially not go after Will Smith there. So Murphy and Rutschman definitely more appealing options there. And when we go down to the value tier, someone that I took from the playbook that Justin Vreeland put out there to just bring him up here, if you really want to save, what are your thoughts on Bo Naylor at 2,600? He's hitting 9th towards the end at the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I like Bo Naylor's the prospect. He has not looked great outside of like one, the game he homered in. Elder is someone who pitches to contact. So are we necessarily worried about the strikeouts? Not like we have been, because that's obviously been the issue for Bo Naylor so far. 37% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching is pretty bad. Lefties have had a little more success against Bryce Elder. The hard hit rate is solid. The fly ball rate's a little higher than it is against right-handed bats. So I'm okay getting to Naylor. I'm a little indifferent. I mean, it's a bad position, just to say it pretty frank. On smaller slates, it's hard to get like catcher completely correct, but is how I feel. That's literally how I feel. Like it's.
That's a spend up night, then, man. That's really what it comes down to. We're looking to spend tonight with either Rutschman or Murphy.
Yes, but also maybe like I would get to Gary Sanchez in a tournament. Barria pitching on 4 days rest, coming off arguably his worst start, and he's allowed a lot of power to righty bats. Where Gary Sanchez, we know, only hits for power. Like that's the only thing he does. Jaime Barria, 185 ISO allowed to righties. Gary Sanchez, 172 ISO versus righties. So I'm okay getting to Gary Sanchez, and I'm okay getting to Christian Vasquez. In that game, it's really hot, and that happens in this like those Midwestern states where when it gets hot, the ball just travels better. Christian Vasquez has actually been okay against left-handed pitching. I was hoping that Ryan Jeffers would crack the lineup. He didn't, but Christian Vasquez, 182 ISO against lefties this year. Pretty good. Had a 356 WOBA against them last year. So, like, this is something that plays. He's just kind of good against lefties. So, I don't think you need to spend up necessarily. I'm just not, I don't know how to feel about Bo Naylor. I just haven't loved what we've seen, and the strikeout rate is obviously a little concerning.
See more in the comments, by the way. Ryan's agreeing here. Tough matchup, but Snell is way underpriced for his strikeout upside. So he's in
Yep.
agreement with us tonight about the price point on Snell. And also, I'm right, Mr. Nick Durst over there, put Justin in my 4th of July DFS. I'm right. I do know you're right about that. I'll say that. By the way, if you're liking what you're seeing and throughout the day here on Better Sports Network, Fantasy Alarm, and you're on YouTube, make sure you click a like here, throw us a like so that way we can spread all of this DFS and fantasy sports goodness out there so we can help you win. We're all one big family. That's how we roll here. When you win, we win. There's nothing better than that. So make sure you're liking and subscribing, of course, here. And you get to see Mr. Grande's pretty face just about every single day here on PSN. Continuing to look at other positions now, we look at the first base spot here. And the big question is tonight, Mr. Grande, we going Ohtani or no Tani tonight?
I mean, dude.
When
is there I mean, there is not a bad day to play Ohtani. You know what I'm saying? Like look at this guy. Look at this guy. Dude, look at him. Look at the numbers. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's always like he hits lefties as well as he hits righties. It's if you want to play him by all means.
It's like hard. Even on a short slate, man, it's just hard to fade this guy. He leads in so many categories. I mean, it's tough, man. It's just tough. You just play him at this point.
Here's what I'll say. And I think it's obviously Snell has been extremely tough on lefties, and but Ohtani hasn't cared on who he's faced, lefty or righty. Like, he just dominates either matchup. There is an obvious option in Matt Olson below him if you didn't want to play Ohtani, who has hit as many home runs as Ohtani has over his last 10 games. He also has 7 home runs. He was the cover of pretty much everything we've done today, podcast and live stream related. 4 straight multi-hit games, including 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. So, no, Ryan, it's not, by the way. And I'll just get to it. I've already put that on Twitter. I don't feel prisoner in the moment saying it either. And just circling back to Vreeland's comment on Naylor, he also is, but I do agree. Like, the spend ups are going to be more popular. He's like
these darn guys, these stupid guys talking about my low end value play. How dare you?
I would be interested in Matt Olson because, Gavin Williams has been really bad and really good in each of his first 6 starts. But
it's hard to judge what you're going to get from him, man.
Yeah, but it's also doesn't matter if you were the best pitcher in the game right now against the Braves. They've made everyone look bad. They made Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan didn't get out of the 3rd inning after throwing a complete game shutout the start before. So I'm perfectly fine if you don't want to go Ohtani pivoting down to Olson. I think there's no wrong answer between the two.
As we go down to the value sector here, any of these other bats that you like do you like maybe a Ryan O'Hearn? Or, he hasn't really, problem is with Ryan O'Hearn, he hasn't really been hitting. That's the problem with him, no. Man. It's I don't mind the matchup against Herman, but again, if he's not doing it, man, I'm not going after him here, even on a short slate.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky because he has been bad, but before this stretch, he had been really good. He has an 849 OPS. He has 6 home runs, 509 slug, and he's hitting 4th. There obviously is some confidence in Ryan O'Hearn in this spot. And for what it's worth, again, Domingo Germán has struggled against lefties. Ryan O'Hearn, 222 ISO, second highest mark on the team, 373 WOBA, 0.01 behind Gunnar Henderson for the team lead. He's still hitting right-handed pitching very well this year. He's very cheap. I would have mild interest in Ryan O'Hearn, plus he's multi-position eligible. So,
right.
You love to see that. I'm telling you right now, and I told Howard Bender this on the podcast last night and this morning. I am actively targeting Domingo Herman, and I'm going to use their Baltimore Orioles 4-hitter to actively target Domingo Herman as well.
There you go. Maybe a little stock action later on here. We're
Yep.
going to be creating a lineup in just a little bit. And by the way, evac_Kate, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching us here. Ryan.
Over on Twitch.
Yeah.
Over on Twitch there.
Love that. Ryan saying we're going to need to suit up for the Twins. You do not want me swinging a baseball bat, a softball bat. If there's designated fielder, I'm your man. If it's anything at the plate, I've never been a good hitter, James. I don't know if you could say the same.
Fancy, did you play right field?
I played second base.
Yeah, that's the better. That's like you're slightly better than the right fielder.
Thanks a lot.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean I could play a little bit. I could play a little bit.
Do we need to go down any more when it comes to price point here? Because at this point we talked about O'Hearn at 3,500. Anybody else that stands out to you below that price point?
Yes. Carlos Santana, $2,600. He's been flashing a lot of power lately. 3 home runs his last 10 games, 4 doubles over that span too. If Michael Grove is pitching, Fensty, I'm gonna play as many Pirates as I can. Maybe their entire lineup if they let me. I also like Donovan Solano hitting second, and I know Donovan Solano hasn't been great, but he's actually historically been good against lefties, and he is hitting second. He is basically free. 342 WOBA this year against lefties. Last year, 341 WOBA. It's free, and nothing better than free. So I like Carlos Santana and Donovan Solano quite a bit down here, depending on the stacks you're playing, because obviously you can't play them both unless you're over on FanDuel. If you're playing a Pirate stack, I like Santana. If you're playing Solano, if you're playing a Twin stack, I like Solano. If you're playing just one of them, I like Carlos Santana more.
He's hit the ball in 5 of his last 6 games. Definitely heated up. That's for darn sure. We move on to the second base position here. Top price guy here. We got Ozzy Albies there, 5,900. Gleyber Torres at 4,900. And then we go down a little bit, and Kim is at 4,300. And by the way, for Kim, somebody else who's hit in 3 of his last 4 games, RBIs in 2 of those games, home runs in 2 of those games as well here. Now, like we've been talking, one of the biggest themes of the stream is that we don't exactly know. We're assuming it's going to be Grove, but we don't exactly 100% know if it is going to be him. But either way, we're going to still look at some of these Padres bats. That's for darn sure. What do you think about Kim at 4,300?
It's fine. He's been really good against lefties specifically this year. He is hitting the ball extremely well. For what that's worth. This feels like a position I want to punt. I haven't really gotten to Ha-Seong Kim in this spot. He is decent against righties, but his better side is definitely against left-handed pitching. So I get it if you want to play him because he's been good lately. I mean, the power has been there. He has 13 stolen bases on the year, so he's a dual threat player. But I'm probably not getting there, and I'm just honestly kind of just punting the position. Like, I like Andres Jimenez at 4K, Fensty. Honestly, other than that,
Mark Pitts James asks us in the chat about Kyle Farmer.
That's
2,400.
That's where I'm going.
3 straight games of getting on base, hitting the ball.
He hits lefties. He is one of those dudes that just can do one thing and one thing well offensively, and it is hit lefties. Fensty, last year, 259 ISO, 407 WOBA. Elite numbers for anybody. Those are elite for anybody, not just Kyle Farmer elite, like elite. This year, 316 WOBA. The ISO's not there like it was last year, but like, you know, smaller sample, and sometimes as samples play out, as we talked about the other day, you see them grow, right? And into what they were. So I like Kyle Farmer quite a bit, Mark. And like you said, you commented earlier in the stream too, and we weren't ignoring you. I knew this time would come. And Mark said, for almost the first comment, perfect day to lose money on the Twins. Couldn't agree more. Perfect day to lose money on the Twins. Nobody loses money on the Twins more than this show. It just feels like another day to do so. Let's lose some money on some Twins. Maybe they'll actually hit lefties today, Fancy. I don't know. Maybe.
Is the game even going to go with the weather concerns?
Yeah, it looks like it's clearing up. I think there's some positive weather forecast there. I will throw one more name out there. Nick Gonzalez for the Pirates, showing a little pop. He was a former top 30 prospect in baseball. He wasn't on the prospect list this year, but was for the 3 years prior. And he's gotten the call, and he's been pretty good. Homer his last game, homers into his first 9. So that would be it. And I'm honestly ready to go to third because I just don't like this position at all.
So let's do that, because as we talk about a lot on this stream every day during the week, and Mr. Grande is the engineer behind this, at Fantasy Alarm on Twitter puts out the graphic and different odds for home run hitters for the day, and you can put in your home run prediction and the odds. We'll make you famous. We'll give you a shout out if it comes true. One of the players that I was considering tonight is at 5,200. Manny Machado. Again, I really want some of these Padres bats here. I ended up taking a Padre for the home run. We'll get to that later. But what are your thoughts on that when you were deciding who you thought was going to hit a home run? Did Machado cross your mind at all?
A little bit. He's definitely been worse against righties this year than he has in years past. He's been really good against every split throughout his whole career, but a little better as a reverse splits hitter. 160 ISO is pretty good. Jaime Barria has been touched up against righties. 185 ISO allowed. That's been the specific thing that he struggled against righty bats, power. So when you see that, you're like, oh, Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, naturally, right? Like that's just naturally what you think of. I actually went with a third baseman, Fancy, with my home run call. Machado wasn't it. I didn't necessarily think of him. Not that I think that's a bad decision at all. We just saw him hit 2 home runs at all. I went with Gunnar Henderson for my home run call, actually. And I know he's striking out a lot lately. Domingo Germán doesn't miss a lot of bats. And we already touched on it. Lefties have killed Domingo Germán all year long. And Gunnar Henderson has been really, really good, excluding the strikeout rate. 31% strikeout rate against righties is scary. 279 ISO, 374 WOBA. Both lead Baltimore by a large margin. And we know Gunnar Henderson has been at his best over the last month and a half. So I like Gunnar Henderson quite a bit tonight, 4,700 leading off against.
Man, you are crushing Germán. I love it, man. I love it. Because you know there are some casual baseball fans. Dude, are you crazy? Just pitched a perfect game. Get over it. It was the A's. This team is not the A's. This team has a lot of problems to deal with on a nightly basis at bat. And they're also a little dinged up as well, but they're still powerful. So don't get stuck on the perfect game and the glitz and the glam. It was against the A's. Grande could throw at least a no-hitter against the A's.
Well, I appreciate it. My arm is very dead. Like, I should probably get my arm looked at. Not that it ever matters, right? Unless I'm joining like some competitive men's softball league, then maybe we'll talk about it. My arm is shot. Too many curveballs from a very young age. I'll say that. Way too many curveballs from a young age on. Not great, Bob. Not great.
Not great, Bob. Nice reference. What about value side here? Because you see Mullen on Henderson here. Do you like anybody else who's priced down a little bit more? Or is it just Henderson through and through our guy tonight?
I mean, I think Henderson is the guy, but if you're spending down, Jose Miranda was just recently called up. He hit lefties extremely well last year. He struggled mightily, to say the least, prior to him being sent down earlier this year. But even in his short stint with the club earlier in the year, he still kind of hit lefties well. 313 ISO or 313 WOBA is not too bad. Last year, though, 237 ISO, 355 WOBA, like monster numbers against left-handed. This is what's very frustrating about the Twins, Vince. They are like arguably the worst hitting team against lefties this year. Undoubtedly. Bad. Strike out a lot. No good numbers like up and down the lineup. Their entire lineup has a long target list like history. And you know how you're married. You know how long a target list can get. Yeah. Of like success against left-handed pitchers. Like it's a very weird time because I love this Twins team. I think the Twins are a sneaky out of left field World Series pick if they can ever figure out how to hit left-handed pitching, because I love their staff. I love their pitching staff, and I love the players. They just need to stay healthy. So yeah, I think Miranda could be a really interesting play here. $3,000, and I mean, we're not going to have a shortage of savings. Like, we can save it pretty much everywhere. But I do like Miranda $3,000, especially if you're playing Twins. Look, let's pull it up again just for the people in the back row. We'll bring back Mark's perfect day to lose money on Twins here, Fensty. We're going back to it. Like, perfect day to lose some money.
And Ryan's loving it too. Twins season. Yeah. I've never seen so many people, by so many people, I mean two, that excited about the Minnesota Twins since the early 90s.
Fensty. This is like, if somebody was just tuning in for the first time, they would think that John and I are the biggest Twins fans in the world. And Mark and Ryan are like they're sitting right at the front line with us. Like, they understand what it is to play the Twins in MLB DFS more than anybody here.
I mean, look at some of these prices. I can understand why. It's very appealing, man. When you want that balance, you want to spend big at certain spots, especially on a 6-game slate where it seems like we're forced to spend up on certain spots. Second, I know we talked about punting, but even catcher, want to get the high-price catcher in for this slate, don't really like anything down low, then boom, this guy counterbalances that and keeps your budget afloat.
He does. And honestly, you could play, if you really wanted to, you could also play Kyle Farmer here. Just for the record, he is also third base eligible. I just do want to give a shout, and we can just move on after this. Austin Riley, not a lot of people are playing him, $5,800. And I feel like not playing the Braves is a silly idea on a slate-to-slate basis. Like, if no one's going to play Austin Riley, I'm telling you right now, 10 out of 10 times, I will take an 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts like he had the other day, if that means I'm getting Austin Riley at 5%. Because I'm giving myself as much upside as possible with Austin Riley at 5%. Like, the Braves the Braves have definitely won people the most money this year, just with how many home runs and stolen bases and everything they're doing. So, like, people aren't playing Austin Riley. I will be playing Austin Riley in tournaments for sure.
I feel like the Rangers are also up there, at least from the home run side as well, because they just hit the snot out of the ball here.
Agreed.
More comments coming in here. I love it. Ryan right there with the 5 Twins. Major Twin stack. Welcome to the Better Sports Network, Minnesota Twins DFS MLB preview for the night here.
Oh, God, it's so painful.
Let's move on to shortstop, where we've already talked about Gunnar Henderson, so that's an option with him qualifying at third and short here. Is there anyone else with the high price side that you like here? Mookie Betts qualifies in the outfield and short as well. Xander Bogaerts, we've been talking a little bit about the Padres here, where we start getting some of their power bats, which I'm looking at in the outfield. Anybody else that stands out besides Henderson that you spotlighted before?
Yeah, I like Bogaerts here. I know he hasn't been great, but he still has pretty good numbers against right-handed pitching. 332 WOBA is pretty good. Jaime Barria's allowed the power to righty bats, so I'm okay getting to Bogaerts. We mentioned Gunnar, Correa 45 leading off. I like how they're hitting him lead off. They're giving him a chance to work out of whatever he's been going through this year. I'll just say Orlando Arcia continues to hit. I know, like, lately he struggled, but he homered off Alcantara yesterday. That's back-to-back days now with extra base hits. 300 average, a guy that was just ran out of Milwaukee because they thought Willy Adames was the better option, and he's been awesome for Atlanta outside of this recent stretch. I could see myself getting there. And then it's just kind of like taking shots on a bad position, because I don't love, truthfully, Fancy, like, I don't love the rest of this position. Like, I don't know if there's anyone that you, like, I wanted to play Westberg here, who has shortstop eligibility. Can't do that anymore. Nope. Tucapito is an option, but, like, he has a low floor. If he were to lead off, I would consider it. We still don't have a Pirates lineup, so I don't know, like, if that's going to be the case. But they also called up, Nick Gonzalez, we mentioned. Like, it's just not, there's, like, nothing on the ownership front. Let's just look at what the field's doing, okay? I want to get everyone's going to Correa. Correa, Gunnar, Nick Gonzalez, and Mookie Betts. That's like the whole position, and I can't say I blame anyone for that because it's probably the worst position on the board.
Correa's hit in each of his last 4 games, by the way. So
Yeah,
understandable.
something. Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Again, like who knows what has been in his head since the whole offseason debacle, but
Who knows if
maybe
it's
we're
him or his
seeing.
brother? Remember that conspiracy theory?
I did not know there was a
There was
conspiracy
that
theory.
conspiracy theory that it was actually his brother playing like for the last few years because he's been badly injured. Whatever. That's for a whole other discussion here because Beezy is in our chat thinking a little brave stack action. Acuna, Olson, Murphy. Then he's trying to decide between Albies or Austin Riley. And based on the conversation that we've been having, my guess it's Riley for you.
Yes, I would say it's Riley pretty easily. I think there's second base is hard is a worse position. You're not going to find a shortage of good third basemen, but I would prefer Riley over Albies.
Moving on to the outfield before we create a little lineup for all of you to play, let's talk about some of the big time price points here because this is my home run hitter prediction here at 5,600 because I, again, want to get some of these Padres bats in here. What about Juan Soto? He's hit in each of his last 4 games, 5 RBIs, 5 in his last 3 games. I'm thinking he's going deep tonight, Grande. What say you?
Yeah, he has some monster numbers against right-handed pitching. 272 ISO leads the team. 434 WOBA leads the team. Y'all must have forgot how good Juan Soto really is. Just due to, truthfully, I've said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. You'll look at the numbers, awful luck for a year. And it's really boils down to he's been really had unfortunate luck for a long time. 20% walk rate. He's all the way back. I love Soto. I love Tatis. I don't think there's like a wrong answer on any of these Padres outfielders here because you can also, and I'll just group all the Padres outfielders to save some time, Fensty. How about Trent Grisham, 2,600, who's been really good. He's been really, really good. Hits in 5 of 6. He's running. We're starting to get some stolen bases out of Grisham. He's hitting for power, 5 extra base hits over that span. So I love Trent Grisham. Just all the Padres outfielders. Unfortunately, like I don't love just using my outfield for one team, but if I was stacking Padres, that's the route I'd go.
Hitting 279 over his last 2 weeks of action. So it's something to look at right there for a little cheapy Grande.
Yep.
Any other outfielders that you want to spotlight tonight? We talked about some of the higher priced options before when we were going over it. We talked about Ohtani. Anybody else, whether they're high priced or mid range, that you're feeling tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Byron Buxton, 52. I think if you're playing a twin stack, you'd be remiss to use the guy.
You're playing an entire Twins lineup.
You'd be remiss, like you would just, it feels, I mean, he has the most upside of anyone. 230 fantasy point games over his last 10 games. Like if I'm playing Twins, I'm going to get Buxton. Cedric Mullins, another lefty, and picking on Domingo Germán. Pirates outfield, again, another thing we could just group together here, Fency. Brian Reynolds has great numbers against right-handed pitching. Jack Sawinski has as many 2 home run games as I can remember for a guy that nobody like knows. All the guy does is hit for power, and he actually has some speed too. 7 stolen bases on the year. Love Sawinski, 3,300. If Michael Grove is starting, I'm telling you right now, Pittsburgh is my favorite stack of the night, and I don't think that's going to be.
You, by the way, Mark's saying he's going yard twice if Grove is starting.
Yes, Michael Grove is awful against left-handed. Awful against left-handed bats. So I love Swinsky. I love Reynolds, Henry Davis. If you want to play all the Pittsburgh outfield in general, other than that, anyone that I wanted to highlight, I mean, you could play Eddie Rosario, 41. He's literally the cheapest Brave today. If you wanted to play Acuna, of course, you could play Acuna. Some Baltimore.
O'Hearn qualifies at that position.
O'Hearn, Aaron Hicks revenge.
That's right. I was thinking about that before.
I mean,
as soon as I wrote the injury report on fantasyalarm.com earlier today, I was like, ooh, Hicks against the Yanks. Let's see him go yard 3 times. How about that?
He is going to get booed so hard. He's going to smile the whole way through. I can't wait for him to go 3 for 4 tonight.
All right, let's put our minds together here, create a quick lineup for the people out there so we can all win this 6-gamer tonight.
Yeah, just a reminder, guys, or just a heads up, we are taking off a little bit early. Justin Fensterman has to hop off and head over to SiriusXM to the Fantasy Alarm Show. So we will be hopping off a little early after we build this lineup. So how do you want to approach pitcher, Fensty?
For pitching, I think let's go one high price, let's go one low. I mean, you seem to really you know what? Why don't we go with Brian Wu at least?
That is 100% my feeling as well.
Let's do that. And then what do you think about do you want to go Snell? Might as well, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with going Snell because it provides us with a lot of salary too.
Right, exactly.
And you want Soto, so we're gonna go Soto. I want Gunnar, so we'll go Gunnar. And then it's like how we want to construct the rest of our builds.
Because we went cheaper on the pitching front, you want to go with a Rutschman tonight? You've been talking about picking on Herman. All right, 5,100 tonight. Picking on Herman big time, coming off the perfect game.
Assuming Michael Grove is the starter, and we don't have that as of right now. Let's see. So they don't have anything official. But assuming Michael Grove is the starter, Jack Sawinski feels really good at $3,300.
Like this. I like the value we're getting tonight on this slate.
We should probably, considering how much we talked about Minnesota, we should probably play some Twins. Farmer at second base feels like a really, really good value because second was a dumpster fire to begin with. Correa was probably you and I both our favorite shortstops, or at least the one that piqued our interest the most. So we have like 4,600 to deal with a first baseman and an outfielder. How do you want to do this? I mean, we don't have Braves, which I'm a little uncomfy with because the Braves are good, but we don't have to go Braves. We don't. We could get more Pittsburgh and go like Carlos Santana here, and that would literally get us Acuna. So that would two birds, one stone. That would get us Atlanta, the best Atlanta player.
I'm fine. And you know what? I'm honestly fine with that. I mean, you see what he's been doing lately with the multi-hit games. He was on a streak at one point of 4, and then he's hitting 5 of his last 6, like I was mentioning before. Just so cheap, man. If we could get Acuna in there, why the hell not?
Well, and he's going to go 20-80 or 40-80 for the first time in the history of the world.
Right.
I don't know. I'm ready to hit the button if you are.
Dude, I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I like this.
Bang.
I never knew how big of a Twins fans we were.
Yeah, it really has taken a life of its own here.
So that is our lineup that we're looking at tonight here as we break down the 6-game slate. Make sure you go to Fantasy Alarm's Discord as well for if you have any questions, more answers. The Fantasy Alarm family is your family to help you win. Give Mr. Grande a follow at _real_Grande. I'm at Fensty Sports, cutting it a little short today, but let's all win this 6-gamer. Let's all root on the Twins. Everybody here today, we are all Twins Nation today.
Let's go.
Grande, it's been real, my man.